My mother-in-law pretended to love me, but behind my back, she said I was inferior because I was the daughter of a mechanic and a seamstress. I pretended not to know. I planned in silence, and when she found out, it was too late. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need to vent. I need someone to tell me if I acted correctly. The pain of betrayal, not by my husband, but by someone who should have treated me like family, destroyed me and rebuilt me in ways I never imagined possible. I met Pedro 5 years ago at a networking event at the company where we worked. He was a project manager in the IT department. I had just started as a financial analyst. Our eyes met while I was explaining to a group how to identify high-risk investments. And he interrupted me to ask intelligent questions. It was love at first sight, at least for me. We got married after 2 years of dating, a simple ceremony in the garden of his parents' house. Dona Helena, my mother-in-law, seemed enchanted with me that day. Finally, a woman worthy of my son, she said, holding my hands in hers. I believed her. How naive I was. Pedro is an only child. His father passed away when he was 19, and since then, he and his mother had developed a symbiotic relationship that I thought was just intense maternal love. Dona Helena still lived in the house where Pedro grew up, a spacious house in a traditional neighborhood, inherited from her late husband. Pedro visited religiously every Sunday. After the wedding, these visits continued, and I started accompanying him. At first, everything seemed perfect. Dona Helena greeted me with smiles, called me daughter, and even gave me gifts on special occasions. We cooked together, exchanged recipes. She showed me old photos of Pedro, told stories from his childhood that made me laugh until I cried. I truly believed I had achieved the complete package, a wonderful husband and a mother-in-law who treated me like the daughter she never had. Then I became pregnant with our first child. That's when the first cracks began to appear. The changes were subtle at first. Seemingly innocent comments about my weight gain during pregnancy. Suggestions about how I should eat, how I should behave. In my day, pregnant women didn't work until the last month, she said, although I knew she herself had done it. I started noting down disapproving glances when I mentioned that I would continue working after the baby was born. A mother should raise her own children, don't you think? She would ask, as if suggesting a universal truth. Pedro rarely intervened in these conversations, and when he did, it was to say, "Mom, do you know how independent Ana is?" Independent, as if it were a flaw. When Miguel was born, the situation worsened. Dona Helena would show up unannounced at our apartment under the pretext of helping the new mom, but her help always came with veiled criticism. "The baby is crying a lot. Have you checked his diaper? This breast milk seems weak." In my day, we drank bean broth to strengthen ourselves. I tried to breathe deeply, to remember that I was just an enthusiastic grandmother. Pedro said it was just her way, that I was sensitive due to postpartum hormones. Maybe it was true. Then, little by little, I noticed that she was planting seeds of doubt in my marriage. Little comments to Pedro. "You seem tired, son. Ana isn't taking good care of you." Or, "At your age, your father had already bought our own house and a new car." Always comparing, always diminishing our achievements, especially mine. I tried to talk to Pedro about it several times. "Honey, your mother seems to have some problem with me," I would say. He always answered the same way. "Are you imagining things, Ana? My mother adores you." Until one day I stopped insisting. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was paranoia. I moved on, focusing on my work, my son, my marriage. I went back to the office when Miguel turned 6 months old and even managed to a promotion. Our financial life was stable. We had started investing in buying our own apartment. Things seemed to finally be falling into place. And then it happened. It was a Sunday like any other. Lunch at Dona Helena's house. Miguel, now 1 year and 2 months old, was playing on the living room rug while Pedro helped his mother wash the dishes in the kitchen. I had gone upstairs to use the bathroom. On my way back, I heard their voices. "Son, you need to start thinking about the future." Dona Helena's voice was low, but clear in the silence of the house. "Miguel deserves a present mother." "Mom, we've already talked about this." Anna loves her job, and she's a great mother. I'm not saying she isn't, but you saw how she's always on her cell phone, always talking about those reports. A woman of her caliber, always involved with numbers, with money. That hardens the heart, Pedro. I stopped on the frozen stairs, my heart pounding so hard I was sure they could hear it. What do you mean by her level? Pedro asked, feeling a slight relief at the irritation in her voice. Oh, son, don't play dumb. You know perfectly well what I mean. She's intelligent, I acknowledge that, but she's from a simple family. Her father is a mechanic, her mother a seamstress. She only got where she is through her own merit, of course. But she lacks refinement. She lacks tradition. Mom, please, don't start with that again. You could have married Carolina, Dr. Mendez's daughter, or even Mariana, who studied in Europe. Girls from good families who would understand you, who would understand our position. But you chose Anna, and I respected your choice, son. But now I'm worried about Miguel. He deserves to be raised with the right values. Silence. Torturous silence. I expected Pedro to fight back and defend our family, but what came next almost made me crumble right there. I know you never fully approved of Anna, Mom, but she's my wife now, and the mother of your grandson. A wife who doesn't know the value of family, who prefers work to taking care of her son, who is more concerned with her next promotion than with her husband. Pedro, your father must be turning in his grave. A woman like that, she's simply unworthy of you. Unworthy of the Albuquerque name. Unworthy. The word echoed in my ears like a slap. 5 years of fake smiles, empty hugs, calculated gifts. 5 years of being judged, of being considered inferior. And Pedro? Pedro didn't defend me. Not as he should have. He only tried to appease the situation. Mom, let's change the subject. Anna could come down at any moment. I didn't hear anything else. Silently, I went back to the bathroom, locked the door, and let the tears fall. I washed my face, took a deep breath, and went downstairs with the fakest smile I'd ever put on. I need to leave early today, I announced, picking Miguel up in my arms. I remembered I have an important presentation tomorrow, and I forgot some documents at the office. Pedro seemed confused. Can't we stay a little longer now? Unfortunately not. You can stay if you want. Can I get an Uber? No, of course not. Let's go together. Dona Helena watched me with those shrewd eyes. Had she noticed something in my behavior? Did she know I'd heard? I didn't care anymore. The mask had fallen, and I could no longer pretend I didn't know the truth. In the car, Pedro tried to start a conversation several times, but I answered with monosyllables. When we got home, I put Miguel to bed and locked myself in my office. I needed to think, I needed to plan. I didn't sleep that night. The word indignant hammered in my head. All the pieces fell into place now. The forced smiles, the veiled criticisms, the subtle attempts to belittle me in Pedro's eyes, and worst of all, his passivity in the face of it all. That's when I made a decision. I wouldn't confront either of them immediately. I wouldn't lose control. I wouldn't give Mrs. Helena the pleasure of seeing me crumble, of confirming the image she had of me as an emotional and irrational woman. No, I would be strategic. I would show her and my husband exactly who Ana Silva Albuquerque is. The next morning, I acted normally. I prepared breakfast, fed Miguel, and got ready for work. Pedro noticed my silence, but attributed it to the stress I was going through at work. I let him think that. At the office, during my lunch break, I did something I never thought I would do. I scheduled an appointment with a family lawyer, not to file for divorce. I wasn't ready for that decision yet, but to understand my options, to protect myself and my son. In the following weeks, I began to document everything. Every derogatory comment from Mrs. Helena, every time Pedro failed to defend me, every situation in which I was treated as less than a member of the family. I kept a detailed diary with dates, times, and contexts. Simultaneously, I intensified my work at the company. If I was unworthy because of my humble origins, because I had built my career from scratch, then I would show how much this unworthy woman could achieve through her own merit. I got a significant raise 3 months after the fateful conversation. I didn't say anything to Pedro initially. I just started directing the extra money to a separate account. Not out of dishonesty, but as a precaution. Something inside me told me I needed complete financial independence. Regardless of what happened to my marriage, I also started investing more time in myself. 3 times a week at the gym, professional development courses, therapy to process the pain of betrayal, and to help me make clear decisions without the weight of resentment. I wanted to act intelligently, not on emotional impulse. Pedro noticed the changes, of course. "You're different," he commented one night while I was reading a book on financial management in bed. "More distant, I'm focused on my career." I replied simply, "I want to secure a stable future for Miguel." It was the first time I saw genuine insecurity in his eyes, as if, for the first time, he was considering the possibility of losing me. The Sunday visits to Dona Helena's house continued, but now I had a new posture, polite but reserved. I no longer offered to help in the kitchen. I no longer shared details of my personal or professional life. When she made comments about my raising Miguel or my dedication to work, I would smile gently and say, "I appreciate your concern, Mrs. Helena, but I am confident in my choices." I saw the frustration growing in her eyes. She could no longer affect me as before. Her power over me was diminishing, and she knew it. 6 months after overhearing that conversation, I received news that would change everything: a proposal to take over the financial management of a company branch in another city about 300 kilometers away. The salary was almost double what I currently earned. The opportunity for growth was immeasurable. That night, I placed the proposal on the dining room table in front of Pedro. "I received this today," I said calmly. "I have 2 weeks to give an answer." Pedro read the document. His face gradually paled. "Moving to another city, Ana, you can't be seriously considering this. What about Miguel and us?" "It's an incredible opportunity, Pedro. For me, professionally, for us financially, we could buy a much bigger house there with my new salary. But my life is here, my work is here, my mother is here." "Oh, of course, your mother, the heart of everything. I understand that. That's why we need to talk seriously." It was the beginning of a long night of conversation. Finally, after months, I let it all out. I told him about the conversation I overheard, about how I felt betrayed, not only by his mother, but by him as well, for not defending me properly. Pedro tried to deny it at first, saying that I had misinterpreted his mother's words, but when I showed him my diary, with all the incidents meticulously documented, he couldn't refute it. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked, his voice choked with emotion. "Because you never really listened." "Why did you tell me when I tried to talk?" "Because I needed time to decide what I wanted to do about it." "And what do you want to do?" "I want to accept this job. I want you to come with me and Miguel. I want us to start a new life away from your mother's influence. But if you choose to stay, then we'll have to rethink our marriage." It was an ultimatum, yes, but it was also a chance. A chance for Pedro to show who he really was. The independent man I loved, or the son who never cut the umbilical cord. Pedro didn't answer that night. He asked for time to think, and I respected that. In the following days, I saw him struggle with himself. I saw the frequent calls from Dona Helena, who had somehow found out about the job offer. Pedro probably told her. I saw his worried looks at our son, as he considered all the possibilities. A week later, he came to my home office. "I can't go with you," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "My mother, she needs me. She's alone." I felt like an abyss opened up beneath my feet. Even after everything, he chose his mother. "I understand," I replied surprisingly. "Calm down. So, I guess you've made your decision. Ana, we can't find a middle ground. You can't refuse this job, Pedro. This isn't just about the job. It's about respect. It's about loyalty. It's about building a life based on what we want, not what your mother approves of. She's my family. And what am I? What is Miguel? We're your family too." He didn't answer, and his silence told me everything I needed to know. That night I called the company's HR department and accepted the offer. What happened in the following months was what I call my moral revenge. Not a plan to destroy Pedro or his mother, but to rebuild my life in a way that showed them, and especially myself, who I really was. With the help of my lawyer, Pedro and I reached a separation agreement, an amicable one. He would stay in the apartment we lived in, and I would receive financial compensation to start my life in the new city. Custody of Miguel would be shared, with him spending most of his time with me, but with frequent visits from his father. Dona Helena, as expected, did not take the situation well. She tried to interfere in the negotiations, suggested that I was stealing her grandson, and even insinuated that I wouldn't have the financial means to raise Miguel alone. That's when I implemented the final part of my plan. I organized a dinner. I invited Pedro, Dona Helena, and also my parents. One last get-together before my move. Pedro seemed confused by the invitation, but he accepted. Dona Helena initially tried to refuse, but curiosity got the better of her. The dinner was at an elegant restaurant, the kind of place Dona Helena frequented with her high society friends. I reserved a private room. When everyone arrived, I served glasses of champagne and made a toast. Family, I said, looking directly at Dona Helena, in all its forms and definitions. Then, calmly and with dignity, I began to speak. I told them about my humble origins. Yes, about how my father, the mechanic, had worked overtime for years to pay for my college education, about how my mother, the seamstress, had taught me the value of hard work and honesty. I talked about my career, about how I had risen from junior analyst to manager in less than 5 years, about the awards I had received, the successful projects I had led. And then I spoke about family, about how for me family wasn't defined by surnames or social status, but by love, respect, and loyalty. When I heard you call me unworthy of your son, Mrs. Helena, I said, now addressing her directly, something broke inside me, not just my heart, but also my illusion. The illusion that I needed your approval to be happy, to be a good wife to Pedro, a good mother to Miguel. I saw your face pale. I saw Pedro lower his head in shame, but today I'm not here for recriminations. I'm here to thank you. I saw the shock in your eyes. Yes, thank you, because thanks to you, I discovered my own strength. I discovered that I can build a wonderful life for myself and my son, based on the values I consider important: hard work, honesty, respect. Then I took an envelope from my purse and handed it to her. This is an invitation to the housewarming party for my new home next week. I managed to buy it outright with my savings from the last few years and my new salary. It's a house with a large backyard, perfect for Miguel to run and play. There's also a guest room for when Pedro wants to visit his son. I saw the confusion in his eyes, the internal struggle between maintaining composure and showing the anger he felt. You're invited to visit your grandson whenever you want, Mrs. Helena, but on one condition: respect. Respect for me as the mother of your grandson, as an independent woman, as a person. The silence that followed was deafening. My parents, who had watched everything in respectful silence, now looked at me with evident pride. Pedro had tears in his eyes, a mixture of regret and admiration. Mrs. Helena was the first to stand. Thank you for the invitation, Ana. I'll consider it. And she left without looking back. Pedro remained, and after my parents discreetly withdrew to give us privacy, he held my hands on the table. I failed you, he said. Finally, I failed to see what was happening. I failed to defend you when I should have. Yes, you failed. I agreed, without resentment. But we still have Miguel. We can still be good parents to him, even living apart. Do you think so? Do you think we could try again someday? The two of us. I looked at him fondly, but also with a new certainty I had found within myself. I don't know, Pedro. What I do know is that I need this time for myself, to discover who I am outside of your relationship, outside of your mother's expectations, and maybe you need the same. That was a year ago. Life in the new city has been transformative. Miguel, now almost 3 years old, is settled and happy. My career has taken off. I was promoted again 3 months ago. Pedro comes to visit his son every 2 weeks, and on the other weeks takes Miguel to spend the weekend with his father. Our relationship has improved significantly since we separated. Without the constant pressure from Dona Helena, Pedro seems to have found his own voice. Recently, he told me that he is also in therapy, working on his own issues related to his domineering mother. As for Dona Helena, surprisingly, she came to visit Miguel twice this year. On the first visit, she was formal and distant with me. On the last visit, however, something seemed different. As I was leaving, he stopped at the door and said, without looking directly at me, "The house looks beautiful. You did a good job here." It wasn't an apology, but for someone like Dona Helena, it was the closest I could get to it. I'm dating again. A history teacher I met at Miguel's school. It's too early to say where this will lead, but I'm open to possibilities. Pedro knows and seems genuinely happy for me, although I can see a slight regret in his eyes sometimes. The truth is, I still love Pedro. In a way, he's the fathered my son's mother. He was my companion for years, but I learned that love isn't enough when there's no mutual respect, when there's no true loyalty. Sometimes I wonder if we'll ever be a family again. If Pedro will truly be able to establish healthy boundaries with his mother, if we'll be able to rebuild the broken trust. I don't know the answer, but what I do know is that, regardless of what happens, I'll be okay, because I've discovered that I was never unworthy. In fact, I'm more worthy, stronger, and more capable than I ever imagined. Update. Something unbelievable happened last night. Pedro showed up at my door unannounced, with an expression I'd never seen before: determination, nervousness, and something else I couldn't immediately identify. "I requested a transfer to my company's branch here in the city," he announced, without preamble. "I want to be more present in Miguel's life. And I want to try again. Both of us, if you're willing." I was speechless, especially when he added, "I had a serious conversation with my mother. I told her that if she couldn't respect you, respect our choices as a family, then we would have to redefine our relationship as well." I don't know what to answer yet. The history teacher is a wonderful man, and we're building something beautiful together. But there's history between Pedro and me. There's love, despite everything. I asked him for time to think, and he respected that. I don't know what my decision will be, but I know that whatever it is, it will be based on what's best for me and for Miguel. Not on fear, not on insecurity, not on the need for anyone's approval. And that in itself is already a victory. And you, if you were in her place, what would you do differently? Leave your comment.